I wasted 6 entire years of my life studying the wrong way, and I'm about to save you from making the same devastating mistake. What I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes took me years of failure, frustration, and academic disappointment to discover. If someone had told me this Japanese method when I first started studying, my entire academic journey would have been completely different. Let me paint you a picture of those 6 wasted years. I was that student who spent countless hours highlighting textbooks until they looked like rainbow disasters. I would read the same chapter 5 times, convinced that repetition was the key to learning. I created elaborate, colorful notes that looked impressive, but somehow never stuck in my memory when it mattered most. During exams, my mind would go completely blank, and all those hours felt utterly worthless. I tried every study method you can imagine. Speed reading courses that promised to triple my reading speed, memory palace techniques that were supposed to turn me into a human computer, flashcard apps that claimed to revolutionize learning, Pomodoro timers, study groups, expensive online courses. You name it. I tried it. Each method would work for a few days, maybe a week, and then I'd be back to square one, feeling more frustrated than ever. The worst part wasn't just the poor grades or the wasted time. It was the constant self-doubt that crept into every aspect of my life. I started believing I wasn't smart enough, that some people were just naturally gifted learners, and I wasn't one of them. I watched my classmates seemingly effortlessly absorb information while I struggled with the basics. The comparison was crushing my confidence and my dreams. Then, during my final year of university, something incredible happened. I met an exchange student from Japan named Hiroshi. While helping him with English, I noticed something extraordinary about how he approached studying. He would spend half the time I did studying, yet consistently outperform everyone in our class. His method was so simple, so elegant, that I initially dismissed it as too basic to work. But desperation makes you try anything. I was failing my most important course, and traditional methods had completely failed me. So I decided to give Hiroshi's approach a chance, even though it went against everything I had been taught about effective studying. The Japanese method he taught me was based on 3 fundamental principles that Western education completely ignores. First, they believe in ikigai, finding deep purpose in what you're learning rather than just memorizing for tests. Second, they practice kaizen, making tiny, consistent improvements rather than cramming massive amounts of information. Third, and most importantly, they use active reconstruction, a technique that forces your brain to work harder and create permanent neural pathways. Here's exactly what I started doing differently. Instead of reading entire chapters, I would read just 1 paragraph at a time. After reading that single paragraph, I would close the book completely and try to explain what I had just learned out loud as if I were teaching it to someone else. If I couldn't explain it clearly and simply, I knew I didn't actually understand it yet. This was revolutionary because it revealed how little I actually comprehended when I thought I was learning. Most of the time, I could barely explain half of what I had just read. But instead of getting discouraged, I would go back to that paragraph, identify what I had missed or misunderstood, and try the explanation again. The magic happened in that gap between what I thought I knew and what I could actually explain. Every time I struggled to recall information and then successfully retrieved it, my brain was building stronger, more permanent memory pathways. It was like mental weightlifting. The difficulty was exactly what made me stronger. Within just 2 weeks of using this method, I noticed dramatic changes. Information that would have taken me hours to memorize was now sticking after just 1 focused session. My understanding became deeper and more connected. Instead of isolated facts floating in my head, I was building comprehensive knowledge networks that supported each other. The transformation accelerated rapidly. My grades improved from barely passing to consistently excellent. But more importantly, learning became enjoyable for the first time in my academic life. I was no longer fighting against my brain. I was working with it using principles that had been refined over centuries of Japanese educational philosophy. The scientific backing for this method is overwhelming. Harvard researchers have proven that active recall, the core of this Japanese technique, is 50% more effective than traditional studying methods. Students using this approach retain information for months longer than those who rely on highlighting and rereading. What makes this method universally applicable is its simplicity. Whether you're studying mathematics, history, science, or learning a new language, the process remains the same. Read small sections, explain them out loud, identify gaps in understanding, and repeat. The beauty lies not in complexity, but in consistency and depth. I've now taught this method to hundreds of students, and the results are consistently remarkable. Students who were struggling with basic concepts become top performers within weeks. The confidence that comes from truly understanding material rather than just memorizing it transforms not just academic performance, but entire life trajectories. Looking back at those 6 wasted years, I feel both regret and gratitude. Regret for all the unnecessary struggle and self-doubt. Gratitude because that struggle led me to discover something that has fundamentally changed how I approach learning and life. Every challenge became an opportunity to apply these principles and grow stronger. The Japanese have a beautiful saying, "Nanakorobi ya oki," fall down 7 times, get up 8. My 6 years of academic failure weren't really failures. They were preparation for discovering the method that would change everything. Sometimes, we need to experience what doesn't work to truly appreciate what does. If you're currently struggling with studying, feeling overwhelmed by information, or doubting your ability to learn effectively, I want you to know that it's not your fault. You haven't been taught the right methods. The education system has failed to share these time-tested techniques that could transform your academic life. Start implementing this Japanese method today. Choose any subject you're currently studying and apply the 3-step process. Read small sections, explain out loud, identify and fill knowledge gaps. Give it just 1 week of consistent practice, and you'll begin to see the transformation that took me 6 years to discover. Don't waste years like I did. The method that changed my life is now in your hands. The question isn't whether it works. The question is whether you're ready to commit to using it. Your future self will thank you for making this decision today.